Bonzi Tech. In this tutorial, I'll be walking you through how you can create a simple blog application using Django. And then within this application, we'll talk about how you can add a Slack field and foreign key to your blog application. Okay, so to get started, I'll just create a folder on my desktop named project. So you can choose to give it any other name you prefer. Okay. And then within this project folder, I'm going to create my virtual environment. So I'll just open this folder inside my terminal. I'll be using virtual env to create the virtual environment. So you can just pip install virtual env in. Okay. So if you already have it installed, you can just skip this step. And then before installing any package, you have to make sure you are connected to the internet before you proceed. Okay. So after installing your virtual environment, you can now do virtual env and then the name of the virtual environment you want to create. So in my case, I'm going to use env as the name of my virtual environment. Okay, so once that's created, you can just go back to your project folder and then you can see there's a new folder named env. Now this folder is your virtual environment. Okay, so let's just activate it by typing the name of the folder you just created here. So env backslash and then script and then activate. Okay, so this will just activate your virtual environment for you. Let me now clear the screen. The next thing is to install Django. So pip install Django. Okay, so after installing Django, the next thing is to create our project. You can use this command Django-admin start project. And then you type the name of the project you want to create. In this case, we are creating a blog application. So I'll just do blog. Okay, after this, you can just go back to the folder again and you can see there's a new folder named here blog. So we need to use this manage.py file to create our file. So before that, you can just cd into the blog folder we just created. So cd blog, and then if you check the files you have inside that directory, you can see we have the manage.py file. Okay, let me clear the screen again. So we'll be using that manage.py file to create our app. So python manage.py start app, and then you write the name of your app. So I'm going to use post as the name of the application. Okay. Okay. Once your application is created, you can just run your server to see if the application was successfully installed. So python manage.py again, run server. Okay, so you can just copy this URL and then paste it inside your browser. Okay, so our project was successfully installed. Now let's move on to the next step. So in this tutorial, I'm using VS Code as my text editor. You can choose to use any other text editor you prefer. So I just do code dot so that to open this folder inside my VS Code for me directly. Okay, so the code dot just opens your current directory inside your VS Code. Okay, now let's look at the files we have in here. So you can see we have a blog folder here. So this is our project, and then the post, this is our application. So the next thing to do is just install this post application inside our blog. Okay, so just go to the settings.py file here, and then you add the name of your application, so post. So after that, we need to configure our template file. So you can choose to import OS, or you can just write base there here, base there, and then / and then type the name of the template folder here directly, and then it will also work. Okay. Why we are doing this is because by default, Django will look for our template folder inside our application. And then since we'll be taking it outside, we need to specify the new path to the template folder. So right here, I'll just import OS. So import OS. And then here, we need to specify the directory. So base directory. So this is our base directory, okay? And then os.path.join. And then base directory again. And then the name of the template. So templates. The name of the folder you'll be creating. So that's templates. Okay. So now let's create this folder here before we get any errors. So template. So this template folder just contains our HTML files. Okay. Let me create one file inside here. Just click on new file, index.html. So this is our HTML file. This will be our home page. So in VS Code, you can just do exclamation enter and then to generate this code for you. Okay, so I'll be using Bootstrap to create this project, okay, so that you don't need to write any CSS file to do anything. Okay. So I just select Bootstrap starter template here. So it already has the links added to our HTML file. So you don't need to go to their website to get their link and then JavaScript file as well. Okay. So the next one is to specify the static files here. So static, you just do static files underscore des. So static files directory. And then you can do base directory here, / and then the name of the static folder. So static like this. Or you can use the OS. So os.path.join, then base directory, and then the name of the static folder. Okay, so you can choose to go by the first procedure or just use this. Either of them just works fine. Okay. Let me now create the static folder here so that we don't run into any errors. So static. So the static folder will just contain our CSS files, images, documents, or any other resource you want to add to your project. You keep them inside your static folder. Okay. Now the next thing is to add a urls.py file to application. Okay. So urls.py. So you just click on the post folder here, and new file urls.py. We need to add our application to the block URLs here so that any URL we'll be writing inside the urls.py file here will be recognized by Django. So to do that, just go back to your blog and then click on urls.py inside your project here. So just import include. So path, you leave the first one as blank and then include all the URLs within your application. So the name of our application is what? post.url. So any URL inside of our post application here will now be recognized by Django. And then with this application, we'll be adding images to the blog post. So you need to configure some files before you can get access to render images on your project. Okay. So to do that, let's go back to our settings.py file again. And we need to add media URL. So media URL is just the path for our media files. So we need to specify that as media equal to media. And then after that, we need to specify the media root where all the media files will be stored. So media root, and do os.path.join and then base directory, the name of the media folder. So you can just write media. Okay. So all the media files you'll be uploading, you just go to this folder. There's no need to create the media folder here it auto generates the folder for you the moment you upload any image in your project. So you can skip that part. Okay, so after specifying this, you need to do some small configurations inside your urls.py file. So let's import this from Django. So from django.conf import settings. Okay, and then we need to import static as well. So from django.conf.urls.static import static. So if settings.debug URL patterns and then static So settings, we are adding our media URL. So test settings.media media underscore URL. So that's the media URL you have here. And the next one is the media root. So document underscore root should be equal to settings dot media underscore root. So the media root is just the variable you just specify, the media root and then media URL. Okay, so I think that's all for the urls.py file. So you can just close this off, and then let's close our settings. We don't need that for now. So the next thing is to do is just add some URLs inside the urls.py file we created inside our application here. So let's go to our urls.py file here. But first, let's create a view here. So the view, I'm going to use function-based view. So the first view is the index. The index is just the home page. We to take request and then return render the request and then the HTML file you just created. So index.html. So that's how we specify it here. So now we need to add it to our urls.py file. So just from django.urls import path so that you'll be able to add this path to our URLs. Okay. So URL patterns. So path, we leave the first one as blank because that's our home page. And then views.index. So that will just call the index function inside our views here. And then name should be equal to index. You can choose to name it home page or something. Okay. So you are getting this error because we haven't imported our view. So from .import view. So this will import all the views you have inside your views.py file here. Okay. You can now run your server again. Okay. So go back to your browser, refresh, and you can see our index file was loaded successfully. Alright. So now let's add some few content to our home page here. So inside here, I'm just going to create a simple navigation bar with Bootstrap. So let me first create a comment here. So nav bar. Let me close this off here. And then inside the comment, I'm just going to create a navigation bar. So I'm working with Bootstrap 5 and I have this extension installed in my VS Code. So I can select the version I want. So Bootstrap 5, Bootstrap 5, Bootstrap 5. Nav bar here. Okay. Bootstrap 5 navigation bar. So if you go back to your browser and refresh, you can see you have this navigation bar here. So let's do some few editing to this. So you can change this to blog post. Blog post. Then you can take the links to the middle by doing margin auto. So you can get rid of the links here. You don't need the drop down, you can take it off. And then we don't need the current page as well. You can remove all of these. And then, okay, I think we need the active page, so you can leave this here. Okay, so home and then my post. Alright. So we should have something looking like this. So home and then my post. So the next thing is to do is just create a section to load our post we'll be adding from our admin panel. I'll teach you how to do that shortly. Okay. So blog post. So this is just a simple comment to make our codes look more cleaner. So I'll just create a container here. So container is just a Bootstrap class for creating containers. So container, this container will just have some margins at the edges of our screen. Okay, so container, I'll just create a simple heading here. So text center. So text center is also a Bootstrap class to take text to the center. So blog post. So if I refresh my page here, you can see blog post. So you can add some paddings to the page as well. So you can do PY 5. That's padding for the top and bottom as what 5. This is just a Bootstrap class. And then you can use a row to render your blog post to the screen. So with row, you need to specify the columns you want. So I just want 3 columns. So call LG, let me do 4, and then call MD is just medium screens. I need 2 blog posts. Okay, you can choose to specify for small devices as well, or you can just get rid of that, because Bootstrap automatically do that for you. Okay, and then within this column you can add your card. So I'm just going to use the Bootstrap card as the blog post. So for now, you can just refresh your page and you can see you have something looking like this. Okay. So we'll be needing an image. So let me search for Bootstrap card with an image. Bootstrap card with an image. Okay, let me refresh. All right. So we are not getting that because we don't have any image here yet. So you can get rid of the image at the bottom here as well. So we have just one column here, and then we have a card inside it. Now don't worry about this. We'll be using a for loop to render all the blog posts we'll be adding from our admin panel. So now let's create our models. So navigate to your post application again, and then models.py here. So class, and then you give the name for the model you want to create. So I'm just going to do post, and then you are inheriting from models.model. Okay. So the first one is the user. So I told you be working with foreign keys. So user, so models.foreign key. So foreign key is just a primary key on a different table. So any model you are adding as a foreign key to your project here will need to be a foreign key. Okay, so if you have, let's say, post, and then you have class, the difference here. So let's say comment. So models.model. So if you want to add your if you want your post to be related to this comment here, you can just create a simple thing here. So comment, and then models.foreign key. So you can now pass the post as a foreign key here, okay, so that your post will be related to the comment here. Okay, so you can see here we wrote foreign key because here the post is a primary key here, but if you take it to a different table, it will act as a foreign key. So that's why I have the foreign key here. Okay, so we are using the user as a foreign key. So we want all users to be able to create a blog post. So if you are not a user on the platform, you cannot create a blog post. So for us to use the user model, you need to import it from Django. So from Django.contrib.auth.models import user. Okay, so the user model is already created in Django for us, so you don't need to worry about how you can create users in your Django application. So the next thing is to add on delete models.cascade. So what this does is that it's just delete any data related to the user. So if you have a lot of blog posts and then you delete that user, it's going to delete all the posts related to that particular user. Okay, that's what the models.cascade does. Okay, so the next thing is to add our title. So models.character field. You can specify a max length. Let me just use 255, and then you'll be needing a description for the post. So models.text field. So you can also specify a max length for this. So let me just do 300. And then we need a date you created that particular post. So maybe date created models.date field. You can do datetime field or date field. Let me just do datetime field. So auto now add should be true, and then auto now should be false. Okay. The last one is our image. So image should be equal to models.image field. This will just allow us to be able to upload images in our Django project. So we need to install Pillow so that I'll be able to use the image field here. Let me just create a simple string function here. So string self return render, return self dot title. Okay, so we now have to install this in our admin.py file so that I'll be showing inside our admin panel. Okay, so go back to your admin.py file. So you need to import your models here. So from .models import the name of the class you just created. So we created post. So I have an extension installed in VS Code, so you can just double click, right click, and then register model. So it will just register all these things for you automatically. You don't need to worry about how you can specify them. Okay. But I can just go ahead and type this out. So the next thing to do is to make migration. So you see you already have some errors here because you don't have the pillow installed. So just do pip install pillow. Right. So now I have to make migrations. So Python manage.py make migrations. So after making migrations, you'll see it will just create the model for you. So the next thing to do is just migrate so that to apply the changes or add it to your project. So migrate, and then you can see these codes here. With the user, this is already created in Django for us. That's the user model. Okay, that's why I have user in this. So the next thing to do is just create a user to access the admin panel. So Python manage.py create super user. So you have to give it the username. So you can skip the email address and then just give a password to the user here. Alright, so now you can just run your server here and then you go back to your browser. So let me just duplicate this tab here and then admin. So this will just give me access to the admin panel. And then you have to type in the password you just created inside your terminal for the super user here. Okay, so you can see we now have our admin panel and then the models we just created post. So you can add a post from here. So you can see we are getting this option here, user, because we added the user as a foreign key inside our models. So any post you'll be creating on the platform would be from a user. So if you're not a user on the platform, it means you cannot create blog post on the platform. Okay, so let me just select admin here. So title, maybe games. So you can give some description. This is a simple games blog post. Okay, the next one is to just upload a file. So from my desktop, I have some images here. Oh, downloads. Okay, let me get this image, save and add another. Let me give the title again. Drones. This is a simple blog application. Okay, about. Okay, so the next thing to do is just upload a new file here. Let me just select the drone. I've already selected the drone. Let me choose this. Okay, so save and add another. I think this will be the last one I'll be adding here. And then so I'll just upload a new image here. Let me just choose this. Okay, and then save. So if you go back to your post, you can see you have some posts here with their images and everything. So now the next thing to do is just get these models or this data inside our HTML file. So to do that, we just go back to our views and then we just import the models. So from .models import post. Okay, so post is what we just created inside our models.py file here. So post, this is a simple variable. So post should be equal to post.object.all. So this will just get all the posts inside of our database. Okay, so you can just create a context variable here, and then you pass in the variable just created. So I prefer to use the same name here. Okay. The next thing you do is just pass the context to your HTML file. So right now, all the models is now accessible to this index.html file. Okay, so here you can just do a simple for loop here. So for post inside of post, this is it, post, the variable you just created. And then you have to end for, else you are going to run into errors. So end for. Okay, so for post in post, okay, so you can now use this variable here. So now you can just pass in the image here. So post dot, I have to make sure of the name you use here, image dot URL. So we just want the URL to the image here. So the post title, so post dot title. Yes, the last second one is the description. So post dot description, and the last one is the date the post was created. So let me just use an h3 here. So date created, and then I'll pass in that variable as well. So post dot, so let me just copy this, date created. All right, so if I now refresh my page, it will just render all the data we have inside of our database here. So if I add a different post, it will automatically upload and then show inside our index.html file here. So you can like, this is a simple post of a Ghana flag. Okay. If I refresh, you can see it added another one as well. So you can even add some margin tops here and add it to the columns instead. So margin top 4, sorry, to give some spaces between the cards here. Okay, it looks great now. Okay, so now the next thing is that the user is supposed to be able to read the post we upload. Okay, so to do, let me just add a button inside the card here. The button has to be an anchor tag, so I'll just do a tag here, but for now just put hashtag here. So button, and then maybe read post. Okay, since you are working with Bootstrap, you can use the Bootstrap class to start this button here. So btn and then btn primary. Okay. So if I refresh, you can see some buttons. So you can add some margins to it as well. So let me do mx. So let me do m3. So m3 means margin 3 for all the size of the button here. So m3. Let me add some paddings to the container here. So that there will be a space at the bottom as well. So container pp is just padding bottom 5. Okay, so now I have some space at the bottom as well. Okay, so now let's create a view to allow users to be able to read the post we upload. Okay, so to do that, we just first create different HTML file. So view underscore post.html. Okay, let me just copy this whole thing here and then paste it inside here. So I'll just change the title here, but first let's update the titles here. So this is blog homepage. Okay, blog homepage. Okay. And then this one will be about the post. Okay, so you can write post details. So you can even change this to / So the moment you click on that link here to take you to the home page. Okay, you can equally do the same thing here. Okay. So you can remove all of this, we don't need it. So the only thing we need is this container here. So post post details. All right. So inside this post details, let me just do an H1, H3, sorry. So post title. So here you just pass in the title of the post, and then H3 again, date posted. So just pass in the date the post was created. Let me add some HR here. Then I think the next thing is the image. So for the image, you use the img tag here. So img tag here. And then between the SRs, we are going to pass the source for the image, but I can leave that as blank for now. Another HR. And the last one will be, let me just keep the image inside the div. So the last one will just be the p tag. The p tag will just be the post details. So you can even add some text here. So post details. And then give some space here. Okay, so now let's go back to our views.py file here. So we are going to create a view to read our posts. So view post, and then request. This time around, we are not going to ask for only request. We are going to ask for the primary key as well. Okay, so let's do pass. Let's do pass for now. So go back to your urls.py file here, and let's add another path. So this will be view underscore post / and then we need the primary key. So we use pk here. That's why we are requesting for pk there as well. Okay, so the next one is the function. So views dot view underscore post, and then the name of that URL. So view underscore post. Okay. So now we can just pass the models here. So post is equal to the post dot object dot get the ID of that particular post should be equal to the primary key. So now we can just create a context variable here again, and then we pass in the post. So post and then the variable post. Okay. I have to return the HTML page you just created. So return render request and then view underscore post dot HTML. That's the HTML file we just created here. So now the models here, or the data we have here, will be passed to this view post page. So the last one is to pass the context variable here. So context. Okay. So go back to your views.html file here. So you can now even change the title here. So the title here will be of the post. So post.title. So instead of showing that text here, sorry, your title tag, remove the title tag here and then pass in the post title so that the title of the post will be showing on top here instead. Okay, so the next one is to add the post title here. So post dot title, and then the second one is the date. So post dot date underscore created. Okay, it's already here. And then our image. So post dot image dot URL. So we can even play with the weight of the images. So let me just do 50%. So it doesn't take the whole screen. Okay. And then post details to post dot description. Alright. So now the last thing is to add the path here. So the first one is view underscore post. And then we need to pass in the ID of that particular post. So post.id. So this will automatically take the user to whatever ID that was passed here. Let me refresh the page. So if you click on read post, it will now take you to the read post page here. So the user can now read more about the post he or she just uploaded. So click on home. You can check for the second one as well. So you can see the user can also read on this post as well. So go back. and then we post. All right. So I said we'll be adding a slide field. So now instead of the user seeing one here, the title of the post will rather be passed here instead. Okay. Okay, so to do that, we just go back to our models.py file. We are just going to do some slight changes in our models. We are going to add another field called the slide field. Okay, so we just add the slide field to our model. So navigate to your models.py file here. But before we add the slide field, we need to do some few import. Okay, so from django.template filters. Okay, from the default filters, you can now import Slagify. So import Slagify. Now the next one is to add get random strings. So as I said here, if the user upload a post with the same name, the same title name here, we need to add some random strings to it so that I don't get errors. Okay, so if posts exist with the same slide field, it'll be difficult for us to read more details about that particular post. Okay, so that's why we are using the get random string here. So the get random string will be generated automatically anytime a post exists with the same title. Okay, so to do that, you need to import something from Django utilities. So from django.utils.crypto. Okay, so from here you need to import get random underscore random string. Okay, so here you can add the slug field. Slug is equal to models dot slug field. Okay, so we need to pass in here now should be equal to true because we have already added some data to our model. So if you don't add now is equal to true, you are going to get errors when you make your migrations. Now before that, you need to write some few functions here to save the slug the moment the user creates the post, so that the user doesn't have to type in the slug field manually. So anytime the user saves a post, the slug field will be auto-generated. So it will just use the title of that post as the slug field. And also if it exists, we need to write some functions to add the random strings to it. Okay, so let's create a function. So diff save, and then we pass in self. That's the post, the current post. So that's why we pass in self here. Okay, and then you can just create a simple variable here. So unique ID. You can give it any other name you prefer. Unique ID should be equal to the string you are going to generate, and then also you can pass in the length you want. So I just need 2, so you can just pass in 2. If you need more, you can just pass in that as well. So super, and then we pass in the post class here, and then we pass in self again. So after that we just save it. So save. Okay, so after this, if not self dot slug. Okay, so you can set the slug to be equal to slugify the post title. So you have to pass in self dot title. So here it will just pass in the title of the post here to this slug variable here. Okay. So we need to do some few error checking here. So try post. Let me even do it post object. So post underscore object obj. It's just a simple variable, so you can just give it any other name you prefer. I just use this variable name so that it will be more readable. Okay, so now the post class here. So post dot object dot get slug. So instead of we doing get id is equal to id, you're now going to do slug is equal to slug. So don't worry about this now. So if you get to our views.py file here, so instead of doing id is equal to slug, id is equal to the primary key we get, we'll be doing it slug is equal to the slug field instead. Okay, so the next one is to add the string that will be auto generated. So you can do some few concatenations here. Okay, so we need to add a hyphen to the next string that will be auto generated, else let's say, let me do something simple here. So if the post title is, let's say, games, and then we have a post which already exists to this title here, games, and then we don't add, we don't just concatenate and then add the string that was just generated, the unique ID here. So the unique ID that was just generated here, you are going to get something like this. So if the random string that was generated is, let's say, BT, it will be added this way. Okay, but we don't want that. We want some hyphens in between them. So to do that, you can just do the string here and then we concatenate it so that we get something looking like this. We don't want it to be attached to the title of the post, but rather I want to add hyphens between them. That's why I added this simple concatenation here. Okay, so now exist, if the, you need to add an exception. So except post does not exist. For here we don't do anything, so just pass in pass since we won't be doing anything there. So self.slag is equal to slag, and then the last thing is to just save it. So self.save. Okay, so this should be able to do the slag field for us. Okay, so after adding your slag field here, we need to make migrations, because I told you any change you make in your database, you need to make migrations and then you migrate. Okay, so you can now run your server again. So go back to your admin.py. So here, if you click on this, you are still going to get the ID because we've not added that yet. But if you go to your admin panel, you can see we have the slag field here. So if I click on save here, okay, it's required. Let me check this thing real quick. If self. Okay, let me add blank should be equal to true as well here. So blank should be equal to true. Now make migrations again. Make migrations and then migrate. Run server. So let me save it and see. Okay, yeah, it's saved now. And then you can see it added the slag field for me automatically. Okay, so now let me just go back to the next post. So you can see there's no slag field here. So if I click on save, let me go back to the post. You can see it added the slag field and then it used the title here. So now let me just create a different post with the same title name so that you see how this function works. The save function we added here works. Okay, so let me do the same games. Let me just copy the text I added here. And then upload the image I want. So let me see. Let me choose this image and then save. You can see we didn't run into any errors. But okay, let me go back to the post games. Okay, I want to find the post with the title games. Okay, games here. Okay, so we don't have any slide for there. So if I save this post here, you can see it added the EL to it. This is the text that was auto-generated. So the text that was auto-generated helps you to get details about a particular object without getting into any errors. Because since you'll be adding the text to be auto-generated, there's no way you're going to have a post with the same title. Okay. So now let's go back to our view. So instead of we pass in the ID here, you can get the title of that particular post instead. So posts, let's go back to our views.py file. So instead of passing in slag here, just change it to what? Slag. Okay, and then since we have the slag field inside our model, so slag should be equal to the slag we will be getting. So the next thing is to change our urls.py file here. You have to change this from string to slag and then slag. Okay. So we are getting slag is equal to slag. Now in our index here, so instead of passing in ID, we will rather pass in the slag field. Okay, So I think the server has already run. Refresh the page here. If I click on read post, you can see the title of the post rather showed instead of the ID. So basically that's how the Slack field works. So if I read this post as you are going to see the title of the post showing here rather than the ID. Okay. So the last thing in this tutorial is to render details related to the user who is currently logged in. Okay, so to do that, let me just create a different HTML file here. So my underscore post.html. Okay, so let me just copy the index page here. It's basically going to be the same thing. I'm not going to change anything here, but the only thing I'll change here is my post. We need to change the title to my post. Okay. And then this as well, my post. My post. All right. Okay, so let's write a view for that. So def my post and pass in request. And then we return the HTML file I just created. So return render request and then the HTML file. So my post underscore dot HTML. So this is the HTML file we just created. So we need to add that also to our url.py file here. So let's add it here. So bring a comma and then path. So since this is my post, you have to pass that in. And then views dot my post. That will just give the my post function inside our views.py. And then the name should be equal to my post. So now if you go back to your browser here and then you do my post, okay, you don't have anything passed here at the moment. Okay, so let's pass in the post. So post should be equal to, let me even use, okay, post is okay. So post is equal to the post class dot object dot filter. You need to get the user who is currently logged in. Dot filter user should be equal to what? Request. So request dot user. So this will return details related to the user who is currently logged in. So you can just do a simple context variable here. So just like we did for the view and then index page, you can pass in the post. So post and then the post variable here. So you can pass in the context inside there. So context. Okay. So now if I refresh my page, I should see posts related to the admin. You are seeing all this because all these posts are related to the admin. So now let me just create a different user here. So add user, let me create a different user here. So let me use admin2. Okay. Let me set the password for that. So if I save this, now let me go back to the post and then change this. So I'm changing the user to admin2 so that you can see if the post will be related to the admin still. Okay, so second, let me change all these posts. Admin2. Okay, so if I refresh the page here, you can see we don't have the other post here. This is because it's only rendering the post related to the user who is currently logged in. Okay, you can see that from here. Admin has only 2 posts. That's why we see 2 posts here. If I'm to change this to the admin as well, and then refresh, you can see the admin has 3 posts related to itself. Okay, so basically that's how you can add a Slack field to your blog post, and also how to return data related to the user who is currently logged in. Okay. Let me see why I even got that error. So my post, view post.slide, for posting post.slide. Okay, it's working. Let me even link my post to the my post page we just created. So in your index.html, you can link it to that page. So let me change the home to home. So / just take me to the home page, and then my post underscore post. Let me do that for the other pages as well. So home will take me to the home page. And then when I click on the logo here, it's supposed to take me to the home page as well. And then my underscore post, and then the view post as well. Okay, my underscore post. So now let me reload. If I click on the home page, let me check that. My post. Okay, my post. Okay, my post. And then home. So this is the home. If you click on my post, you can see only the posts which are related to you. But on the home page, you are showing all the posts available. Okay. And the user can also read the post. Okay, so you are getting the now error because you have not added any Slack field to those posts yet. So let me see which post. Drones. So you need to save that as well so that it auto generates the Slack field. You are getting the now error because you've not added the Slack yet. So now if I click on drones, you can see it rendering correctly. If I click on my post too, the user should be able to read that post as well. Okay, so if you have any questions on this post, you can leave a comment inside the comment section below. And then if you like the video, you can give me a thumbs up. And then if there's anything new you want to learn, you can leave that in the comment section as well. And then I'll work on that for you.